I'm going to leave that old woman in the middle of nowhere, my son-in-law whispered to me at my husband's funeral. He had a nasty smile on his face. Now that the boss is gone, the company is finally mine, he said. He had always wanted to be in charge of the company, and now he was showing his true self. But life isn't that simple, my dear son-in-law. It was time for me to teach him a lesson. The fight had just begun. Please give me strength, my love, I silently prayed, looking at my husband's memorial. My name is Emma, I'm 55 years old, a homemaker, and I was married to my husband, Alan, for 30 years. I met Alan when we worked together. We became good friends, fell in love, and got married. A year later, we had our daughter, Lily. Alan worked in construction until he was 35. When he decided to start his own company, I wanted to design buildings, so I became an architect. I love making my clients' dreams come true, Alan once told me with excitement. He started a design firm. At first, I wasn't sure if it would work, especially since our daughter was only 4 years old, but we were a team, and I was ready to support him. I decided to help him and work with him to make his dream come true. Luckily, the company grew over time, and Alan proved he could run it well. I stood by him for 20 years. Alan hired Max, who had worked at a company similar to ours. It was surprising when Max fell in love with my daughter, but I thought I could trust him. After all, he worked so hard for Alan. Looking back, that was a mistake. Max, my son-in-law, supported Alan and became a top executive at the company. Meanwhile, Lily felt uneasy with Max's strong opinions, probably because he was too focused on work. Mom, I've been feeling strange lately, Lily said one day. Why? I asked. Maybe it's because he's been drinking, Max had said. I wish that old man would just go away. I can make the company more successful, and I know how to do it, he added. That's terrible, how could he say that? I replied. They say drunk words are sober thoughts, but I didn't think he'd ever betray your father. Even though my daughter's words stuck with me, I tried to believe Max was only thinking about the company. We had no idea what he was really planning. Then, about a year ago, something unexpected happened. Alan, who had always been healthy, suddenly started feeling sick and lost his appetite. He complained about back pain, so we took him to the doctor. The news was heartbreaking. He had a serious illness that couldn't be cured, and he didn't have much time left. Only Lily's family and I knew this. We were all worried about the future, but Max, who was with us, tried to calm us down. I hope Alan gets better. The company will be fine. You can trust me with everything, he said confidently. Max's words sounded odd, even though I thought he was trying to comfort us. The smug look on his face made me feel more and more uneasy. The more I saw Max, the worse he seemed. One of Alan's longtime employees told me that Max had started treating everyone badly, making things hard for the team. Some workers quit because they couldn't handle his attitude, and others lost their motivation. Max, I can see you're working hard, I said to him, thinking he might be stressed about running the company. But could you think about how your actions affect the employees? I asked. What? Are you seriously saying this? He sneered. You should just stay by Alan's side. He's on his deathbed, so don't interfere with my business, he added. But Alan built this company with care, I replied. You know this company is almost mine now, Max shot back. You should be grateful that I've stayed quiet and followed Alan all this time. Hearing that made me feel cold inside. My worries grew stronger every day. Max's behavior was getting worse, and his harsh words were putting pressure on the staff. The longtime employees, who had always worked hard to maintain good relationships with clients, were now being criticized. Alan had always valued this, but Max didn't care. Efficiency is all that matters. Don't be such a fool. I'll fire you, Max said bluntly. Then, he started using computers to share reports, which caused trouble for the older workers who weren't as comfortable with technology. Can't you old people even use a computer properly? Get out of my way. I don't want you working for me, he yelled, knocking over trash cans and making them clean up the mess. Things got worse when our long-term business partners started struggling because of the recession. Max told them, we're not working for free anymore, so we're cutting ties. He was destroying the trust that had taken years to build. When my daughter Lily asked me about Max's behavior, I didn't know what to say. Lately, he treats me like a servant, she said. He gets furious if I resist. He told me, who would marry you if you weren't the boss's daughter? You're not my type, she added, her voice filled with anger. Mom, Max has changed, Lily said. No, this is the real Max. We were fooled, my daughter said, tears in her eyes. After hearing about Max's actions, Alan was also worried. One day, he asked me to come to his side and requested a favor. Don't worry, I'll handle it, I promised Alan. A little while later, despite his best efforts, Alan passed away. I couldn't stop crying at his funeral, remembering how we had shared a good life, never argued, and always supported each other. But during the funeral, while the priest was speaking, Max leaned in close and whispered in my ear, I'm going to leave that old woman in the middle of nowhere. I saw the evil grin on his face. This was the real Max. He had been part of the board of directors since Alan got sick, and now that Alan was gone, he felt secure in his position. From now on, I can control the company however I want, I could almost hear him thinking. Max, who had taken everything for granted, didn't know what fate awaited him. Now, I would be the one to put an end to this. It was time to keep my promise to Alan. Give me your strength, I said, looking at Alan's coffin and feeling my resolve strengthen. A shareholders' meeting was scheduled after the funeral. Max, the director, arrived late and sat down in the center of the room, looking around at everyone. Max looked shocked when he saw me sitting at the same table as him. His eyes kept darting around nervously. Why is she here? I heard him mumble under his breath. I had to hold back my laughter. The next item on the agenda is the removal of Max from the board of directors, the moderator announced. Max, who had been distracted, froze in horror. Hey, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I didn't catch that. He tried to stand up so fast that he almost fell off his chair. Everyone in the room enjoyed watching Max squirm. The truth was, Alan had given me most of the company's shares years ago. Whoever holds the most shares has the most power in the company. I used that power to call this meeting. Max knew about the meeting, but he had no idea it was to discuss his removal. How can I be fired without a good reason? I'm the president's son-in-law, he protested, clearly confused. You've been very harsh with the employees who've worked for us, I said. This kind of behavior will hurt the company and make us lose to our competitors. That's why you amateurs have no idea what you're talking about, Max snapped back. I'm not saying we can't try new things, I continued. I'm saying we should also take care of our employees and business partners. The shareholders nodded, agreeing with me. They understood and respected Alan's vision for the company. Max, however, was getting angrier and shouted at me. Things like that won't bring in profit, he yelled. I shot back. You're only thinking about yourself, not the company. I know what's really going on. What are you talking about? He asked, confused. Max, you've gone too far. Look at this, I said, holding up documents Alan had given me before he passed away. Have you been stealing from the company for your own use? I asked. The room gasped, and all eyes turned to Max. He looked panicked, his face covered in sweat. How did you find this? He stammered. Alan gave them to me. He believed in a customer-first policy, but you tried to change that, didn't you? That's why he wanted me to bring this up, I said firmly. That's not fair. You were snooping around, Max shouted. The company can't afford to keep thieves on the payroll, I said. So, who do you think should be the next president? There's no one else but me, Max said. Don't worry, Alan wanted me to take over, I told him. What? A novice like you can't run a business, Max shouted angrily. It wasn't surprising he said that. He didn't know anything about me. When the company was small, the executives used to meet in a conference room at home. I always sat beside Alan and shared my thoughts. Alan trusted me because I understood the company's inner workings, even though I never let anyone know. When Alan transferred those majority shares to me, I always assumed I would pass them to our son-in-law one day, but not anymore. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, I said coldly. Max quickly realized his mistake and started begging me. Please don't fire me. I'm so sorry for everything I've done. I swear I'll work for the company forever. I'll even give the money back, he pleaded. Do you really think you can get away with it? I asked, surprised. I was planning to use the money to start a new business, not for personal gain, Max tried to explain. That's funny, you've given luxury cars, designer goods, and jewelry to women, and now you're talking about starting a business with stolen money? And besides, you're fired, I said, mocking him. Max then tried to use my daughter to manipulate me. If you punish me, your daughter will suffer too. Is that what you want? He threatened. Lily has already decided to divorce you, and she's probably packed her things by now. She's been unhappy with you for a long time, I said. Oh no, Max gasped. And I've reported the embezzlement to the police, so get ready, I added. Max was removed from the board, arrested, and sent to jail for embezzlement. My daughter had left him, and he was left to deal with his own mess. Now, as president of the company, I work hard every day to grow what Alan left behind. I'll continue to respect the employees who've been loyal to us, and while I'll bring in new ideas, I'll never forget the customer-first philosophy Alan taught me. At home, Lily is no longer stressed and greets me with a smile. She's still young, and her life is just beginning. I'll keep a close eye on her future,